Hey guys, it's your best five friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, we're back.
We're back.
From a brief hiatus.
Yes.
What were we doing on your break?
Resting. Just needed a little break.
Learning. Growing. Yeah. You know, I thought about George Foreman a lot over that break.
Yeah.
Thought about his radical transformation. And when I say radical, I say go back and watch pre-1970. Go watch 1970s George Foreman just batter people all around the ring. Like when he beat Joe Frazier, knocked him down, I think 6 times in 2 rounds when the first time they fought, and did something very similar in the second time they fought. Watch that guy, the way he carried himself, and then watch the guy that came back, starting in 1987, and eventually in 1994, recaptured the heavyweight title. He still remains, at the time, he was the oldest boxer to ever win a world title, and he's still the oldest heavyweight champion ever. Of course, Bernard Hopkins picked up a belt later in his career. Anyway, that transformation to me, I like writing stories like this because I like hearing stories like this. How and why did George Foreman change from this scary guy to the guy that was selling you a grill that you probably bought, you know?
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're our age or older, then you are very much familiar, if you're like me, with our current George Foreman.
Lovable George Foreman.
You know, the Foreman grill, the guy with the big smile, the lovable teddy bear. I didn't get to see in real life, real time, the George Foreman before that. The one who was menacing and scary, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, and I grew up listening to my dad talk about George Foreman. I grew up, you can watch
So for somebody like your dad, I wonder what it was like to all of a sudden to see this different George Foreman. It must have been quite like abrupt, right? Like it's very different.
It's pretty remarkable. And what's remarkable about it to me, the most remarkable part of the story to me is that the scary George Foreman, sounds like from hearing him talk, was mostly just a thing that he learned how to do.
It was
from Sonny Liston. Right?
Yeah, it was a caricature like he took on.
Now, he
wasn't like his true maybe self.
It kind of like, it's like in between though. So I don't think he was faking it because yeah, he would knock you out. And he said that that mindset that he learned from Sonny Liston is that case in the room, how he would do that. But, however, it seems like he's always been George Foreman, right? He is George Foreman. He did have a big spiritual experience, but the big thing that turned his life around
was having children.
He had kids. He has up to 12 of them now.
Yeah.
And the first one he had, I want to say it was 1973, right?
I don't know.
Maybe Sonny's. I don't remember, but anyway, I'm saying that he said that when he came back to the boxing ring, he was teaching his kids how to be a person, how to be one person. He said it's the hardest thing you have to do.
Well, and that's the part, like when you wrote this story about George Foreman and the why behind this huge radical transformation, right? And that was the quote in your story that really hit my heart.
Yeah.
Is that he said after he had kids and then came back to boxing, that he realized he couldn't be 2 people.
Yeah.
He couldn't be one guy in the ring and come home and be a different guy. So at home, he loved his children. Yeah. And so that just really moved me that he was like, if I do that, then my kids, what I interpret from this, he didn't say all this, but what I interpret is that his kids can't see their dad being 2 different people. That's not honest. Like that's not, it's going to erode
integrity.
Yeah, it's going to erode their trust in their own father. And he was like, I can't do that. I have to be one guy.
He's teaching them how to be 2 and how to be one integrity. Person.
Yeah.
In all situations, which is a hard thing to learn, and it takes time to learn that often. But I love hearing that story, and I love the story of George Foreman. George Foreman's one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. He was in the 70s before he came back. He was already one of the greatest heavyweight champions ever. Definitely after recapturing it, you know, going toe-to-toe with Evander Holyfield in Evander's prime, and then knocking out Michael Moorer to become heavyweight champion 20 years after he lost it in the Rumble in the Jungle, in a fight that he was sure he was going to win in 3 rounds against Muhammad Ali. Just an amazing story, and that's just the tip. That's just boxing. He's had such a big life, a huge impact, a positive impact on people's lives, and I just love George Foreman. I'm glad he's from around here in Houston, Texas, around Texas, and I'm glad I got to talk to him for Heavy.
Here's what I really love about this story is that George Foreman came back in the second act of his boxing career, and he wasn't the like mean, menacing guy anymore. He still knocked people out, right?
Oh.
He still did his job in the ring, but he didn't bring in like this facade of like, I'm gonna like whatever. And here's what I love about that is I feel like there's some people out there who say, you got to have a chip on your shoulder. You got to like do this. And I want to be like, no, look at George Foreman. You can have, joy. You can have serenity. You can love people and you can go in the ring and do your job. And like we see like other people do that, like Manny Pacquiao, right? Like who go in there and do their job. But like love, you know that they got love in their heart. And so I just really love that because I feel like there's this huge thing out there I just hear all the time. It really just gets under my skin when somebody's like, you got to have a chip on your shoulder. Or they start complimenting athletes who have a chip on their shoulder. And I want to be like, I want to like help them. I'm like, no, you don't have to live life like this. Not everybody hates you. You don't have to fight against everybody in order to be a champion. You can be a champion and have like a life-giving kind of life, Yeah. You know what else is life-giving?
Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel. I was like, whatever our show's called, that's what's life-giving, Rachel.
Yes. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because you should support things that are life-giving.
That's right, and that's us.